On December 23, 2024, a horrific boat explosion occurred in the city of Fort Lauderdale at the Lauderdale Marina and 15th Street Fisheries restaurant. What in the world could have caused such an unbelievable explosion like this, the type that we don't see very often at all? And what could cause such a scene like this along this romantic, beautiful paradise area in the Fort Lauderdale in Port Everglades Intracoastal waterway recreational area that attracts so many people who will come there to have a great time? Now, this engineering disaster actually took place local to me here in Fort Lauderdale at the Lauderdale Marina and the 15th Street Fisheries, which is an internationally well-known restaurant, one of my personal favorite restaurants on the whole planet. My whole family has been going there since I was in high school. Anytime family comes into town, we usually end up there at least once. Famous for its koi ponds. I mean, every time I go there, people are always asking me, do they still have the koi ponds there? Anybody that comes into Port Everglades on a cruise ship, they often end up over there. Or if you've docked your boat anywhere, you're always going to dock there and go in there for lunch. In fact, not only have I eaten there, but also Shaq has eaten there as well. And so has the Jonas Brothers. So it attracts quite a bit of celebrity clientele. And why is that? Because this place is so beautiful. It's got one of the most beautiful views in all of Fort Lauderdale. Yep. And we like to go there and just sit outside and have lunch dockside there and just watch the boats go by. And if you could get there on a beautiful day like I did here on January 1st, which I did a week after this accident, just to go down and see what the dock looks like right now, you can see what a textbook perfect day it was. So with the amount of boat traffic that comes in and out of this marina all day long, every day, you're bound to have some kind of an accident sometime. By the way, on the left side of the screen, you see that big kind of squarish mega yacht on the left side across the Intracoastal waterway? That is the Wayfinder boat, which many of the boat magazines say is owned by Bill Gates. Okay, so let's look at what happened here. Look at the guy in the red shirt with the white hat. He might be a crew member. I'm not sure. Usually it says white crew letters. And so there's the explosion. He takes off, and everybody's going to be trying to evacuate that part of the dock there. And then you can see the people on that far boat to the right of it, underneath the lit Lauderdale Marina sign at the end of the dock. They're getting off of their boat, and very smartly so, because that boat is very soon going to be engulfed in flames, even though it doesn't look like it right this second. But give it time, folks, because it's going to happen. So let's take a look at that again here. I slowed it down 5x for you, and watch when it just blows the whole lid right off the top of the boat. The deck and everything goes straight up in the air, probably 15 feet or so, and comes slamming right back down on top of it. Just absolutely amazing. And at first, it doesn't even look like there's going to be a fire. It looks like it's all done. And so now they're all kind of gathering themselves. And I think they're about to try to rescue some of the people that ended up in the water that were on that boat. Now, a short time later, the guy with the red shirt comes back, and he's running down to see what he can do to help anybody that needs help. And now you can see the flames starting on the back of the boat that exploded. So it's amazing how the whole lid, the whole upper part of that boat, the deck, just blew right up in the air and came right back down on top of itself. Now I'll speed it up for you, 8x. You can see that everybody's just scrambling and going crazy on the deck, and now the fire is building, and we got to get out of here now because we don't know, there could be another explosion. Don't forget there's fuel tanks, and there goes the yellow water taxi in the background. Now, if you look at the crowd of people in the center of the screen, just to the left of the fire, they're helping folks up out of the water that made it into the water, and they will all be okay. As they help each other off of the dock, you can see in the green glow of the light the 6-foot tarpon fish hanging around underneath the boats. Now, an eyewitness who had to actually run from the explosion to save their own life turned around and shot this footage of these two bystanders who grabbed hoses, and the other one's got the fire extinguisher, trying to put the flames out on this boat, to no avail, of course. Here's the view from the Pier 66 cam. The PTZtv gave us permission.
Pom-pom, pom-pom, pom-pom. All stations, all stations, all stations. This is United States Coast Guard Sector Miami, Florida. United States Coast Guard Sector Miami, Florida. United States Coast Guard Sector Miami, Florida. Break. Time 22:59. Coordinated Universal Time 17:15 local. The Coast Guard received a report of a boat on fire on 15th Street Fisheries in Fort Lauderdale. All vessels are requested to keep a sharp lookout, assist if possible, and report all sightings along with your vessel's position to the Coast Guard Sign Commander.
Now, I'm only allowed to use about 2 minutes of their video, so I'll put a link down in the video description below for you to their entire 15-minute video. And as you can see, the fire engines are just now arriving here at about 6:02. And then look at the hose stream to the left of the fire there. You can see one of the mega yachts across the canal from it is trying to spray water on it, but it doesn't appear to be reaching. So by this time, the 15th Street Fisheries restaurant has already been evacuated, and you can see more fire engines are arriving here at 6:05. And keep in mind, it's been about almost 4 or 5 minutes now, and we're just now seeing the first hose being laid down on the dock there, because they have a large distance to cover. And then again here at 6:05, you got even more fire engines arriving, so they were just lined up down the street. I felt sorry for anybody living on that street, because you're not escaping. And I wonder how many alarm fire this was, because they're just still coming from all over. And the problem is I'm not sure where the hydrant is. I believe it's out on that street there somewhere, but you have to run hundreds and hundreds of feet of hose to reach this area from that hydrant. So when you look here, the boat was over here at this part of the dock, the southern end of the dock. And I believe the fire hydrant is way out here. It's past the front of the building, probably way off to the left here, another 100 feet or so. So they have to run a hose all the way around here, come around this side of the building here, down here along the dock, and then all the way down here. That's a lot of hustling that you have to do to set these hoses up. And Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue released this video for us, taken from the helmet cam of one of the captains.
Right over there. Okay. Hey, hey you! We're gonna have to do a horizontal standpipe. There's 2 boats on fire. We're gonna have to do a horizontal standpipe. Grab all the hose.
So now they're rushing to get those hoses down the ramp and on to the dock there. And you'll see that big white box. See that big white box right there on the right side? That's where the previous hose was already pulled out by a bystander, but you can see that hose is too small. So here you can see we're coming up on that other person that has already established that first hose before the fire department arrived.
Just keep it right there. Keep it on that fire right there. Keep it on the fire right there.
So then, if you look at the lower right part of your screen, you can see the fireboat arrive, and they're finally starting to shoot a massive hose onto the flames there. And then if you look behind it, you can see on the dock the other water stream from the fireman's hose that they dragged out on to the dock just a moment earlier. Here is the scene from the fireboat right there. And then there's looking down the dock. And then there's the fuel burning on the surface of the water. And then here's the view from the dock, and here's the view from above, from Channel 6, from their chopper. And you can see both of the boats have sort of drifted a little bit towards the southern end of the dock there, just beyond the dock. And then as more police boats arrive, that you can see the fireboat there hosing it down from on the Intracoastal waterway. Now here is some more witness video taken by people aboard the yacht right next to it that were trying to use their hose there across their deck to try to put the fire out. And then by 6:14 p.m., it looks like they finally have the fire under control. And then once the fire was put out, they sent a diver down into the water to search for anybody that might have been missing. And they did find one 41-year-old Canadian man who unfortunately did not make it. And here is the aftermath, and it's amazing that the second boat actually was still floating, because the first one that exploded, that one sank to the bottom. And here's another view of the second boat being towed away. Now, we're of course having way too many of these boat explosions, I think. And what's a coincidental incident here was just 2 weeks before this explosion, at the very same dock, was another boat explosion. Not quite as big. The fire department was actually calling it a flash fire, but it was still there nonetheless. It happened at the exact same dock. So are the two connected, perhaps? Was there something wrong with the equipment at the dock there? And in fact, even back in October 2024, not even 3 miles away from the site of this explosion, there was another explosion that was deadly, and one guy was killed, and several of his co-workers were sent to the hospital. Okay, so here's some possible causes that I've outlined that could be the root cause here. So one here would be gas fumes in the boat hull, or the bilge area as we call it, which is the inside of the boat at the bottom of the hull where it would meet the water, but basically on the inside. There could be a gas pump malfunction or a leak. You could have a blower malfunction in the bilge. So every boat has a blower that's supposed to exhaust out any fumes. You got here failure to activate the blower for 4 minutes. You have electric spark or failure. You might have alcohol involved. It could be arson or bomb. And of course, transporting illegal flammables, or maybe it's a mobile meth lab. You just never know. Stranger things have happened. To try to answer this question, I went down to the 15th Street Fisheries on January 1st, on New Year's Day. Believe it or not, look what a beautiful day it was. So I'm looking at the dock to try to see if there was any clues to what might have happened. Is there something wrong with maybe any of the fuel tanks there, or the pump, or anything? The pump looks like it's in great shape, and of course there's Bill Gates' mega yacht back there in the background there. But look, it looks like some of the tar paper was burnt off there, and you get some wood underneath there. So all of the damage looked like it was pretty much contained to the boats. And also the sign, so you can see the black frame there around what used to be the Lauderdale Marina sign. That was that white lit sign that we saw in the explosion video there. That actually melted from the heat from the flames when the two boats drifted to the southern end of the dock right there. And so that's where the boat was. It was right there. And we don't really see any damage on the dock. Now, this is kind of a cool dock. This is a concrete dock, and it has these rollers on it, and they roll up and down the concrete columns there as the tide comes in and goes out. And sometimes when you're standing on it, you can feel it rolling a little bit. It's kind of cool. So you can see I'm looking here, and I can see that the fuel pumps and the equipment and everything there just looks like it's in really good shape. I believe they were using this pump number 13. Pump number 15, I believe, was being used by the other boat that was at the southern end of the dock. So it's important to remember here for boat refueling safety that there's 3 phases, and each phase has its own task list that you have to do. There's before, during the fueling, and after the fueling. And of course, make sure you're not smoking. Whatever signs they have there, follow those signs. Follow the instructions from the crew of the dock there as well. And make sure there's no distractions. Get everybody off the boat. They're not coming back on the boat until you've actually started the engine again. That prevents people from being injured if there's an explosion. So you may come across a typical sign that looks like this, and it'll say, of course, stop the engines and any auxiliary power, shut off all electricity, any open flames, any heat surfaces, check your bilges for any fuel vapors or anything like that, and also extinguish all smoking materials. So that's what you have to do first. During the fueling, they want you to maintain the nozzle contact with the fill pipe. They want you to wipe up any spills immediately and avoid overfilling because the fuel can expand a little bit too. And then after fueling, this is the most important part right here. They want you to inspect your bilges for leakage or fuel odors. And that means if you have any hatches and stuff like that, open them up and see if you can smell anything. And if there is any fumes, let them escape. Okay, and then ventilate until odors are removed. But actually what I prefer is you should always operate that blower just to ventilate out any gas fumes that may have stayed in there. And you got to do it for 4 minutes. And if you didn't do it for 4 minutes, then don't start that engine. So remember, the only way you're going to get an explosion like that is from the fumes. It's the fumes that actually detonate. And so what happens is when you're fueling, you often get fumes that escape into the lower part of your boat there. And then they settle down at the bottom. That's why you must use that blower to evacuate it, and you must use it for 4 minutes. So there is no doubt in my mind that the only thing that could have blown open the top of that boat like that and make it come back down like that was there was a lot of fumes. So there must have been a major leak in this particular case here. And another thing too is they tell you, you might want to open your hatches too afterwards. That would help release any fumes that might have been trapped down below. So this is exactly what I think happened here. I think it was just maybe a case somebody made a mistake and they didn't run the pump, or they didn't run it long enough. But at the end of the day, There was a whole lot of gas fumes trapped at the bottom of that boat. So anyway, if you haven't followed this channel before, make sure you check out this video here, my recent upload on the Titan submarine. And then after you watch that video, make sure you check out this video over here, my analysis of the Bourbon Street attack from the truck driver that drove over all of those people. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see all of you on the next one.